Hey everybody, it's Anna J. Wellner with the Author Library, and today I'm thrilled to have with me A.L. Martin. A.L., would you like to introduce yourself?
I go by A.L. Martin, but my name's Amber. Um, I live here in Evansville, Indiana with my husband and three kids. I've always loved to write. It was a passion of mine as a teenager. I'd sit there, fill up notebooks and just of stories and whatnot. And then, life happens. The dream kind of like gets lost along the way. And it's really funny. I met my best friend like 10 years ago, and she got me thinking about writing again. She edits for me too, so she's the one that kind of got me on this trail again. And she's like, cheering me on behind me, and I'm like, I have these meltdowns, and I'm like, I can't do this. What am I doing? She's like, no, you can do this. You can do this. You got to keep going.
You absolutely can. In fact, you are the A.L. Martin is a young adult fantasy author, and she already has two books which are available now. So you have already accomplished that. You've got two books that are out and
I
available
do.
now. And the first one in Cursed or Blessed, we follow Karsyn. Am I saying
Karsyn.
Karsyn, who has the ability to see into the future. Have you ever known anyone that
No, but
was
I
like
like a
it?
lot of like shows, and like one of my favorite shows was Dead Zone with Anthony Michael Hall, where
Okay.
he'd like touch somebody and he could like see, into the future and whatnot. The thing about with Karsyn is she only sees when somebody's gonna die. So it's not like, she can see anything else. She'll see their death. So that's kind of like why she tries to keep away from people and not get too close to them, because she doesn't want to get close to them. And then all of a sudden, she sees their death, and she feels compelled to like try to like stop it or change history, or change the future so it
Right.
doesn't happen. And then she finds herself getting into a lot of trouble because of it.
I can imagine. And this is the first book that you wrote.
Yes,
Is this part of a series?
it wasn't going to be. It was just supposed to be a standalone, and there's a funny story behind it. um my husband bought it, which I feel like I'm buying my own book, but he bought it and wanted to read it. And after he finished it, we were at the grocery store one day, and we were walking out to the car, and he turned around and he started yelling at me about my book. He was like, I have all these questions and no answers. He was like, you left me just kind of like hanging, hanging there with, he goes, it's like, what happens to her? Where's it going? What's going to happen? And so it got me thinking, I'll
Ah,
go to maybe, write a sequel to it. So
so
that's what I'm going to do. Once I'm done with this series I'm writing, I'm going to go back and write the sequel to it. So when I do that, I'll pull the book off, and then I'll republish it with the new book, kind of like get the interest going in it again.
well, so you're going to make a full series out of the is it going to be the Cursed or Blessed series, or have you come up with a name for the
I
series yet?
haven't decided on what to name it. Um, I mean, I still have like a somewhat story for it for like the second book that I've got tucked away in the back of my mind.
Right.
Um, but it's like I really haven't thought too much since I'm still writing another series. It's like I try not to think about too much, because then I'm like, oh, I gotta finish this so I can do this. And as you and then I've got another idea, and I'm like, I have too many ideas and not enough time to write.
That notebook again. Write them all down. That your creativity notebook.
Have a lot of notebooks. I will go to the bookstore and my daughter's like, I'll pick up a journal and she's like, you don't need
Yes.
that, put it down.
I know. I always find myself wandering over to the journal section or the stationery section in Target. This is a dangerous place for me to be, and I have to keep myself from going there, or else I
Me
will
too.
end up with a bunch of blank books. I don't know what it is about just loving to have a blank book to be filled. I think that must be a writer's thing.
It is because I love journals and she'll like literally pull me out of the aisle and I'm like, I need one. She goes, no, mom, you've got like 50 million roaming around,
And
floating around
pens.
the house.
And pens. I love having like I buy pens by the dozen and in different colors, and I don't know. I'm weird. I was the kid that loved to go back to school shopping, not for clothes but for school supplies. So but Dancing with a Stranger begins the Londyn Carter series, which is the series that you're currently invested in now. The first book is available, and I'm thoroughly intrigued just by the description. Can you tell us a little bit about the first book in the series?
Dancing with the Stranger, that one kind of like took a different turn while I was writing it. It wasn't supposed to end up the way it has, but the storyline felt right. Basically, Londyn is a 18-year-old girl. She's in her senior year of high school. She has a boyfriend. You know, she comes from a very like wealthy background. She finds herself, she goes out to a nightclub that's been for just like 18 to 20-year-olds. So it's like, you know, there's no drinking, no nothing. It's just for 18, 20-year-olds. And she runs into Hunter Brooks. And it's like the moment she meets him, things start to happen. And I don't want to give it away, which I mean, the second book's coming out, so I might as well just go ahead because the second book's coming out and the cover's already out there. She finds out she's a witch. And her parents have lied to her about it.
Interesting. So you and you mentioned so there has to be another one coming soon. When can we expect to see Londyn's story continue?
Dancing with Darkness, hopefully it's going to be out by the end of the month.
This month.
And I'm writing Dancing with Evil. I've kind of like pushed it on towards the back. I haven't written on it for a couple weeks because I've been trying to get everything going so I can get Dancing with Darkness published. But there's Dancing with the Stranger, Dancing with Darkness, Dancing with Evil, and then there'll be a fourth book. I'm still kind of playing around with the title on it. I mean, I have a title, but it's not like
set in stone.
Like, yeah, it's like, you know, oh, I gotta name my book this. It's kind of like, you know.
Maybe not. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, everybody said they like it, and I mean, I like it, but it's not, you know, like, oh, I love it. I got to, you know, have this title. It's, I'm playing around with Dancing with the Dawn.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a little mysterious, but I don't know. I may keep it. I mean, most people like it when I tell them the books in the series, they're like, oh, I like it. But I don't know if they're just saying, oh, I like it. Or if, you know, to be nice, like, Oh, you can
Well,
name us something else.
I think it really does. I think it really does fit with it kind of has to fit with the book. So not knowing maybe what the book is about, for me, whenever I think of the dawn, I think of the start of a new day or a sort of symbolism behind the title. So it's a new beginning or a new start or something of that nature. So if not knowing what's behind the book itself or what's behind the title, then that may be why if they have more information, then it may be like, oh yes. So
Yeah.
I would say that if it speaks to you and it resonates with you, then I would definitely go with it.
I think I mean I probably will keep it because it's like I'll change it, but then I'll go back to it and then I'll change it again and then I find myself going back to it. So I probably will keep the title for the fourth book. I'll have to wait and see.
As authors, we reserve the right to change our mind at any time about anything and any
Even
character.
even if it's last minute.
Even if it's last minute. Yes, exactly.
I'm bad about that myself.
Well, there are sometimes whenever you just have this gut instinct that your creativity is pulling you in a certain direction. Sometimes you'll get that about a character that you didn't think was going to play as major a role in the story as you thought,
Mhm.
and then you get to see them as you're writing them, and you say, "I have to pull this person in a little closer to being a primary character." And so, you know, this story always has the ability and the capability to evolve and change as it goes.
Oh yeah.
So, do you have further plans after this? Oh, that's all right. You're going the Cursed or Blessed is going to be the next one up for series. So, do you see that one going past two books or?
Actually, I kind of tossed the idea the other day because I get attached, which, as authors, we always get attached to our characters and
We do.
sad, when we're done with the series or the book, you know. Um, I think I've found a way to where I can keep both characters going into a different series. Both their storylines take place in the same city, which is in Charlottesville, Virginia. I don't know why. I've just been fascinated with that little city of Virginia. I've
Okay.
never been there. I researched it and I was like, oh, I want to go there. My daughter might be going to college out Virginia, which is only like an hour and a half away from there. So who knows? I might get to visit it here soon. But after after I'm done with dancing the Londyn Carter series, and after I write the second book for Cursed or Blessed, I think what I'm going to do is combine Karsyn and Londyn and their stories and put it together into a series. Seeing as they're both from the same city, they're bound to cross paths, along the way.
That's very interesting. I like that. That's a unique way to blend two different series into a sort of to like merging streams
Mm-hmm.
into a river. That's very, very unique. So where did you what so it did you grow up reading fantasy and that's how you decided that you wanted to write young adult fantasy? I know that for me that was the case.
I loved, actually, I didn't read a lot of like young adult books till I became an adult and was, it's kind of funny how that works. The books that I read when when I was a teenager was one of my favorite books as a teenager was Rockstar by Jackie Collins.
Oh, wow.
I read it in the back of the church van as we're like going on visit to colleges, and I'm sitting in the back seat with the pastor's daughter reading this. She's like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Will you be quiet? Your dad's gonna catch me with this book."
That- you know what? That reminds me of someone asked me the other day what did you read whenever you were I remember sneaking into my mom's closet and finding, well, among the Fabio covers, I found a book by I'm trying to think of the name now, Valley of the Dolls. And I don't know if you remember that book, but it was
I think I do.
they made a movie out of it, and it was quite I still remember my dad taking me to Walden Books. Do you remember Walden Books?
Yes, I do.
And I asked the cashier if she had any other books, that the author had any other books out there. And the look on my dad's face, where did you get this book? Because it is all very adult stuff. But I just thought it was a great book. So you and I, same boat.
Because I loved Rockstar because I was reading it, and she was talking about like the 80s rock stars. And I mean, if you paid attention, you could almost guess who she was talking about throughout them. So it was like, I have my own idea of who she was talking about. But I just loved that book. And I loved Danielle Steele. I read, what was it, Star? I think that was her. She have a book out. It's been so long. But I read Danielle Steele some, but mainly it was Jackie Coleman's Rockstar. I read that book like 2 or 3 times.
Well, do you see yourself staying within the young adult fantasy genre?
I do, because I mean, I read Twilight. I admit I read Twilight. I read it 2 or 3 times. I love the books. I love her writing style, and I read a lot of John Green books. It's just, I don't know what it is. I just love those kind of books.
Let's face it, guys, adults really do enjoy reading young adult fantasy and young adult books in general. So I don't think that's ever going to change. And we're starting to see kind of a crossover for young adults, new adult readers in the genre now, where a lot of adults are picking up these books because they are just a good read and a fun read, a way to escape into a fantasy world that's not too, because for me at least, maybe a political thriller or something like that would make me have to think too hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just nice to read a good, escapism, young adult fantasy. So yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to picking up your books now.
Thank you.
So I will be doing that after the interview. But what drew you to, so you said that whenever you were younger, you used to always have a creative journal. What sparked you to decide to finally to start putting stuff down on paper again?
I think it was just, I missed writing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I remember sitting up in my room just filling up that notebook, and I mean, I would just sit there lay on my floor for hours in front of the TV and just write. And it was, my kids were getting a little older, a little bit, they didn't need mom as much, to whereas when they were little there. And I just missed it so much. And I looked at my husband one day and I was like, I'm going to write. And he kind of looked at me like, well, where'd this come from? And he was like, okay. I did write a book It wasn't young adult, and I think that's it. I tried to write a romance novel, and I tried to like get it published traditionally. I tried that route, and after about 40 or so rejections, they sting after a bit.
Yeah.
And it was always the same thing. Oh, we're interested, but this isn't quite what we're looking for,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I was like, I still, and they always say write what you know. Well, I didn't read that many romances. I was like, I write young adult. So honestly, Cursed or Blessed was supposed to be a romance, like a young adult romance, and so was Dancing with a Stranger, and they just kind of like took off on their own, and they were like, hey, this is what we're doing now.
No, I completely sympathize with you on that because sometimes whenever you start out a story, it just takes on a life of its own. So that's
Mine have a tendency to do that all the time because like I envy authors that can sit down and plot down every little thing. I've tried it. It doesn't work for me. I just sit down and start writing, and next thing you know, I'm writing, oh, this is happening, and she's seeing visions of death, and I'm like, well, where did this go?
and I've just got to go with it. Well, Ale, thank you so much for coming on the show today and taking the time to talk to us about the works that you have out now and what is coming soon. Guys, I will have all of her links in the description below, and make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss out on upcoming content. And Ale, I thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come onto the show and chat with me today. And everybody just stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.